Right, where was I? Okay, getting back on track after that short article there. Money making schemes. Also known as return fraud, Chris has a habit of buying a product from one store for a lower cost, then exchanging it for a higher amount of store credit at another store. Wow. Wow, that really is fraud. That lottery. Chris considers the lottery to be an investment and not a form of gambling in reality, which it really is. In September 2010, he told Jackie the following: "Bloody, I'm not interested in wild camps. No, but bug off. I invest $4 a weekly between Win for Life and Mega Millions, 2 plays each. Cash for Life and Mega Millions currently costs $2 per play as of the 14th of April 2019, meaning that if Chris stopped playing the lottery, he would save around $416 per year. Well, unless Chris actually won anything, which in all likelihood it probably will never happen, but then again. Craigslist. In late October 2011, Chris posted a Craigslist ad for a 12-year-old 32 CRT television and expected a non-negotiable price of $250 for it. In reality, this is about the price of a new flat-screen HD TV of that size, and he would be lucky to get a tenth of his asking price. Chris placed 2 cars for sale on Craigslist in September 2014. One was a dilapidated, rusty 97 Cadillac with a cracked engine block that hadn't run over in over a year, despite having a market value of scrap of approximately $150. Chris demanded $5,000 for the automobile. Not gonna happen. For the automobile, instead insisting that the cracked engine block made the car a great fixer-upper. Yeah, if you actually knew what you were doing or had any sense to just scrap the thing immediately. Chris also placed his mother's BMW Z3 for sale. The 99 BMW Z3 is currently listed on the Roanoke Craigslist for $10,000 OBO. Kelly Blue Book estimates the car with 70,000 miles and in fair condition is worth $4,318. Chris describes the car as a mint-condition Z3 model, like a go-kart with rocket power. Chris is not a car salesperson, I'll say that. Seriously fun to drive, 5-speed, and pure joy with the top down. Color is jet black. Just in case you couldn't see it. Pawn shops. Chris occasionally visits pawn shops or similar businesses. Among them, Snooki's pawn shop, GameStop, and Plan 9 Music to sell his old toys so that he can afford new ones. That defeats the purpose again, but what's the point? eBay. Chris has long used eBay to sell bits of his toy hoard. He doesn't put much effort into researching prices, and often lists items at vastly inflated prices. In August 2016, he listed a used VHS of Aladdin with a buy it now price of $3,000. There were no legitimate takers, not unsurprisingly, probably because one could buy the same edition on Amazon for 1 penny, plus shipping, but still. In June 2019, or you could just watch it on YouTube. In June 2019, Chris's account was restricted, and all of the active listings were removed. 2 reasons for the restriction against Chris are possible. Either his seller approval rating was an abysmal 84.7% on the 21st of June 2019, or that his PayPal account was in the red. Because of eBay, taxes and that he had to pay back on eBay. Quickville shopping. From 2014 to 2016, Chris sold custom arts and crafts, finally monetizing Sonichu through eBay, Etsy, and Lulu, before losing his business due to stress, and he couldn't be bothered to update or send things out on time, listing in complaints, and one thing after another happened. Kickstarter. On the 23rd of September 2014, Chris opened a Kickstarter project, asking for $5,000 worth of Legos. At the end of the campaign, Chris raised $150 from 27 backers. YouTube monetization. Chris has monetized most of the videos which appear on his YouTube channel as another way of profiteering from his internet infamy. As further proof of Chris's entitlement issues, Arthur Spatchcock discovered that at one point around March 2016, Chris received $80 and was pissed that he hadn't gotten more. This is probably going to become a pattern. Chris is going to do one of his Let's Plays followed by an e-begging video and then polish it off by purchasing some dumb thing he doesn't need in excess of $50. He knows how the system works, and it's the greatest amount of payoff with the least amount of work. The first time when Chris played Destiny, he made $80 from YouTube, and was surprisingly pissed at it was that small. Fuck that. I want $80 from YouTube. So do I, but you know what? You gotta work on that. Then he makes a video whining about how he needs more money, and lo and behold, he gets even more. If anything, people are contributing to his float, and that convinces him to get away with being frivolous that much more. Social Blade estimates that as of the 20th of December 2019, Chris could earn between $245 and $3,900 per year, but there are many factors such as content ID claims that make it very difficult to estimate the true value of any YouTube channel. You got that right, but there are ways. They say there is nothing easier in this world than being able to make money, but it's even harder to turn about Chris's, weaknesses into any sort of strength. Let's Plays. In March 2016, Arthur Spatchcock introduced Chris to the idea of doing Let's Plays to boost his online activity and help him gain some money through YouTube's monetization program. The plan fell apart after Let's Plays of Destiny and Uncharted, since by that point Chris was too lazy to play video games for money, and he simply wanted to beg from his audience instead. YouTube support button. On the 23rd of May 2016, Chris announced the debut of a support button on his YouTube channel to replace the Etsy donation listing, which was forcibly removed due to it violating Etsy's terms of services. He apparently got this idea from William Elliott Waterman. PayPal.me. Quickville Shopping. I am the original creator of Solitaire and Rose Chew and more than 11 comic books worth of content under my helm. Please donate to me to help quell my financial problems that quell my creativity. Grokersville, Virginia. Right. Prostitution. You're hearing this right, by the way. On the 19th of June 2016, aka Father's Day, Chris decided to become a prostitute. He is yet to receive any takers. Let's take that as a sign, even possibly from God. Begging, however, is something that was always going to happen anyway. One of the earliest instances of Chris's e-begging for money was in the December of 2009. Chris exhorted his alleged European fanbase to donate $1,000 in order to remove troll ads from the Wikipedia. In 2014, after his house caught fire, Chris again resorted to e-begging for money, placing extra emphasis on "my mother and I really need the money," despite dropping more than $5,000 on expensive Lego sets to feed his worsening addiction. One would think that Chris would have wised up to the fact that his wanton spending and lack of gainful employment are contributing to his woes. But one glance at his May 2014 Facebook posts could easily tell you that he's seeing his situation as an avenue to get stuff from people. The most ridiculous of which being a $300 sea cow. I don't even know what that on his wish list, which would not benefit anybody but himself in the slightest. And you can see Chris right here begging despite being surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands of toys. He could just sell and at least make $1,000 from this. Possibly, if he played his cards right. In 2016, Chris's e-begging drastically increased as a result of the channel's stubborn refusal to live with their means. That year saw Chris spend over $1,000 on toys, while both Chris and Bob had court cases resolved which penalized them with steep costs. In addition, Bob In addition, Bob joined in to the begging, appearing in 3 videos thus far. He asked for donations, or at least mentioned them, in many of the posts and videos that he made in 2015 through 2016. At first, this was supposedly to fund his production of Sonichu merchandise, but he later shifted to saying that he and Bob needed help with paying the bills and buying groceries. While it's entirely possible that Chris was simply lying to get more money for useless crap, this indicates that the financial hardships which many people have warned him about have finally arrived. Only time will tell how his financial situation ultimately plays out, but given his attitude and incation to literally everything in his life, the future doesn't seem bright at all. In the comic, it is clear Chris has no idea how money works. Sonichu, Rosechu, Paddy-chan, and most likely all of the other characters live off welfare, just like Chris in real life. He seems to have no concept of tax, or that it's the American populace who pay for his bullshit. I mean, it's all Chris has ever been used to, so why not? Sonichu and Rosechu are living in a 2-story house with an attic offered by the city, and they are paid an average of $3,500 a month just to hang around the place. And maybe for the occasional city defense or errand. While legislation as mayor of Quickville, he equated 10 years in prison to a US $1,500 fine. He also equated 50 hours of community service to $500 for any sexual violations. In episode 19, it's shown that Quickville actually issues its own currency, in the form of C quarters and W quarters. 10 C quarters make up a W quarter. Don't bother asking how that makes any sense in any way. Well, I can see kind of what he was going for, but you would call it like, I don't know, like maybe 10 C quarters could make, I don't know, a W dollar or something like that, considering what the word quarter means. Our best guess, C quarters average about a quarter, 25 cents. W quarters is $2.50. Nor does it explain why fines are levied in US dollars, perhaps to bolster the dictatorship's foreign currency reserves, a la North Korea. This makes even less sense considering Quickville is part of the United States. Let alone cities, cannot print their own money despite holding considerable power over their own affairs. The Constitution expressly forbids anyone else other than the federal government from issuing currency. However, it has been somewhat common for companies, communities, and even local governments to issue localized currency known as scrip, a Depression-era practice still seen from time to time. Chris, being Chris, and likely reading Goosebumps instead of paying attention in class, likely is wholly unaware of this information. I mean, I'll grant you, even when I was doing stuff about the Depression nearly 8 years ago, I've never technically heard of that anyway, so... On the Wikipedia article on Sonichu, Chris wrote that Rosechu is usually the one who cooks for her family, but when Sonichu cooks for his wife and kids, he will go as high in portions as a banquet, even though he only cooks for 5 individuals. This suggests that Sonichu is just as frivolous with money as his father and honest creator. Soup hotels. Chris shows us his complete misunderstanding of the stress his ideas would put on the American social security system if he was left in charge of it in a text called A Rosechu and Sonichu Christmas Story. This is where the idea of soup hotels came from. Even the homeless have a place to stay in 10 soup kitchens/hotels. Chris has a very bad idea that has come to fruition in one American city. Is that Quickville? By chance, let's just check if it is. I've got like a feeling it's meant to be. Oh, never mind, it's out of date anyway. Chris depicts soup hotels as buildings 10 stories tall with between 10 and 20 rooms per floor, equipped with single bathrooms, beds, lighting, and cable television. Of course, the homeless stay there for free. So instead of building homeless shelters with dormitories, common rooms, and shared TV sets, Chris thinks the homeless should be treated to all the comforts of a bona fide hotel. This means that in Quickville, there are around 1,500 homeless people left outside. This might be the result of the local industry, choked by heavy taxes needed to pay those social expenses, being unable to make a profit there and thus moving away. In Sonichu issue 10, Ultra Sonichu and a bevy of Rose Juice stop at a soup hotel. The building is labeled Soup Hotel Numero 17, implying that Quickville has had to open at least 7 new homeless shelters in the span of a month, or they're just bad at numbering the things, or mere tellingly that the economy of Quickville is crashing to the ground fast. In other works, in Mumble number 6, Chris discussed making a TV show called The Chris Chandler Show. One of his demands was the show should not have any commercial breaks, either showing a distinct lack of understanding as to how a TV station makes any sort of money. Or perhaps he plans to sell the advertising fees to a single company so that they can play a long ad in the beginning of airtime and leave the rest of the show uninterrupted, a la the season premieres of 24. We cannot know for sure, but he has probably seen at least one show that has done this, and gathered the idea from there. In Mailbag 29, he stated that $10 an hour is a reasonable price to pay for sex with a prostitute. To show his further ignorance of simple economics, and also the compensation of having to look at Chris's bent dick in the process. Chris proposed a chain of state-run brothels where this shockingly inexpensive fee would not only pay women for sex, pay the salary for a pimp, pay for STD testing for the prostitutes, but would also pay for free sex ed classes for virgins. That is a terrible idea. Turning prostitution into an agreeable trade. Because even in the world of prostitution itself, there are many people who will exploit this, like pimps, for example. In real life, according to Chris, he tried to scam his way out of paying for sex with a Craigslist prostitute, who was charging $100 per hour by telling her about the trolls, his life story, and his many personal problems. He said the prostitute then hung up on him. Chris also proves us that, in the possibility of being part of a family, he wouldn't be the main purveyor. In the Playing House video, his sweetheart of the moment is portrayed as a successful journalist with high ambitions, while he's a stay-at-home dad. Even then, he portrays himself doing hard work, like changing diapers and watching over the kids. In this last role, he's so incompetent that he needs to recruit his preschool daughter to watch over his son while he's shopping. This is paralleled by his real-life situation. With Bob gone, one would assume that he'd be the man of the house, and assume some responsibility for the first time in his life. Unfortunately, as evidenced by his admission in court, Bob is still pulling his ass out of any such concept by paying his court fees. Keep in mind that, by extension, Chris is being minded up by an ailing woman's retirement money, which was used to bail him out of a mess that he started, while he wastes his own money on meaningless frivolities. Conclusion. Given Chris's carefree abandon when it comes to his spending habits, many are actually concerned as to what will happen to Chris when Bob passes on and he has to fend for himself, if, past and present, experiences are any indication, as seen in these articles. It's that if Chris continues on his path of not saving his money and spending it on frivolous crap that he does not need, he'll wind up broke and in severe debt. A past conversation with Clyde Cash revealed that he doesn't even know how the basic expenses that go into running a household. And we all know how Chris's plan of marrying a sweetheart to dump all the financial responsibilities on her will turn out. Long story short, if Chris doesn't start saving for his future now, then when Bob finally passes on, he won't have one to look forward to, and he'll have nobody to blame but himself. Not that he'll try, of course. And that is almost the devastating reality behind all of this, is that no matter what, Chris will in absolutely no way atone for anything he's done. He'll continue with his lifestyle, be completely ignorant to just about everything he's done, and still will demand people to pay for him anyway. Because if Chris didn't learn before, then what makes you think he's going to learn now? Look, in my personal experience, ladies and gentlemen, I've never given money to Chris, and I never will, and I would encourage you to follow the same practice, because if Chris actually saw any value in money, he would have put it away a very, very long time ago. Never mind looking for a job. That is something for another day. So, there you go. If the homeless saga is definitely a tangible reality, if Chris doesn't end up dying before that, it's time will tell. But the sun is not shining in Virginia, as they say. Well, they don't say that, but we know what that means. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reading of Chris and Murney, courtesy of the Quickie. Please make sure to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of Chris and Money for yourselves. And I hope to see all of you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.